Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars, and let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today. Now, right now in the immediate short term, we are seeing a perfect bounce from this level of support sitting at 113,000. However, right now there is still a short-term area of resistance, which we already rejected from yesterday. And of course, I already covered this area of resistance well ahead of time. So 114.6K level is the level to break right now. As I pointed towards yesterday as well, guys, there is this Fibonacci golden pocket sitting between 114.3 all the way up to 114.65K. So obviously right now with this green candle, there's a lot of bullish momentum here in the short term. However, still keep an eye on this Fibonacci golden pocket because we need to see candle closes above this level before we can be much more bullish on Bitcoin, right? And the thing is also, if we are now breaking above, but from there actually crashing back down below 114.3K, then that would still be bearish in my book. I really would not like to see that because it is just a sign of weakness at that point on this 4-hour time frame, especially with us at that point creating a bearish divergence in the charts. Because if we get a higher high in the Bitcoin price and then fall back down below, well, at that point, guys, we have a lower high in the RSI and we have a higher high in the Bitcoin price. So that is a bearish divergence. Now, of course, I'm talking about this ahead of time. I'm not saying that this needs to happen like that, but I am talking about the possibility of a bearish divergence, and that if you are seeing a break above followed by a break back down below that Fibonacci golden pocket, then be on the lookout for a bearish divergence as well. That is basically what I'm trying to tell you, right? Okay, but for now, we haven't broken above that level yet, so you can also just be on the lookout for a straight rejection from this critical area of resistance once again. Now, the most bullish case is, of course, just breaking straight through and just continuing to pump to the upside. There is a case to be made for that, considering that the next big area of resistance on this one-day time frame is sitting from 115 all the way up to 117K. So potentially there is a bit more room to the upside. Now let's quickly talk about this market structure here and what we can be looking for next, because is this an uptrend? Is it a downtrend? Well, first of all, let me show you the 2-day time frame, because here you can see that this is just a sideways range that we are in. So between about 107, 108K and 120K for Bitcoin. If we end up breaking through 120K, guys, obviously that is going to be insanely bullish for Bitcoin. So at that point, you will start to hear me talk about some crazy numbers after that. But right now, in the shorter term, this was starting to look like a downtrend, because literally all it took for me to start calling this a downtrend is a break below these previous lows at 107K. Now, in this case, we got a higher low. So now, in order to confirm an uptrend, what I am looking out for here is simply a higher high to come in above this 117K level. So above this high specifically. At that point, for this section specifically, we will be talking about this as an uptrend. But keep in mind that it will take a bit more. It will actually take a break above 120K before we can start calling this an uptrend, right? So keep that in mind. There is a difference between the different time frames on this 1 and 2-day time frame, similar to how there can be a difference between the 1-day time frame and the 4-hour time frame, for example. Moving on to the Bitcoin ETF flow tables, yesterday we saw a net inflow of over $500 million in a single day of trading. So this is actually a massive inflow that we haven't seen in quite a long time, about 2 weeks or so. This isn't a strong trend of only inflows or only outflows. However, for this new week of trading that we're heading into, because remember, this is the data from Monday, considering that this data is always lagging 24 hours behind, this is a good sign that we are seeing such a big inflow as we're heading into this new week. However, as always, we will check back in with this every single day on the channel. Now, lastly, let's quickly take a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on the 48-hour time frame, notice how right here we took out a bunch of liquidity, around 112.8k. From there, perfectly reversed back to the upside, and now it looks that we are targeting this liquidity to the upside, for example, at 114.9k, or possibly even 115.1k. It also makes sense that this liquidity is right here because, as I pointed out earlier in this video, this is just above these previous highs and exactly where we have this area of resistance. So basically, a lot of people are putting their stop loss or their liquidation level right above that area of resistance. Either way, if we zoom out all the way to the 2-week time frame, notice how we still have a bunch of liquidity to the upside right here. This is actually looking quite nice, with most of the liquidity sitting to the upside at around 119k. Not much has really changed here since yesterday. We've basically just been grabbing a bunch of downside and upside liquidity on the lower time frames. Overall, right now on this 1-year time frame, guys, we still have big liquidity to the downside as well as to the upside. Personally, I'm focusing more on the short term, like lower time frames for Bitcoin right now, because that is where all the action is actually happening. It isn't in this swing trade here, in my personal opinion at least. The time to look for swing trades is at these pivoting points and not really when we are already in this move here. Of course, that is not financial advice, but I'm simply telling you what I'm doing in the charts, and you can do with that information what you like. Either way, guys, this has been today's market update. Feel free to follow me on X, previously known as Twitter. I post on here quite frequently and let you guys know if I'm not posting that day, so could be useful. It is simply at the road to 1 mil. Either way, if you do end up following me on there or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.